Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. If I sound a little quiet, I'm recording this at 1 a.m. Naomi and Squee, and I think even Mabel are asleep in the next room, so I'm trying to be quiet. I've taken two melatonin gummies. That's right, an adult dose. I'm an adult. If you want any indication of where I am emotionally, before I started recording this, I was trying to figure out why the audio wasn't registering on the computer. I spent 5 minutes doing a bunch of different things, only to figure out that I had not plugged the audio device into the computer. That's where I am. This is the week, folks. If you're listening to this in the future and you're wondering what happened this week nationally on our little trip through the woods to fascism, this was the week that white people, rich white people specifically, found out that they were not safe. Jimmy Kimmel got pulled off the air after the FCC threatened ABC. And Ken Klippenstein, the journalist, reported that the government is considering floating the idea of classifying all trans people as enemies of the state. So, what do you even say? I'm really hoping labor gets their shit together and is able to organize enough to oppose this. Otherwise, there's some dark fucking shit in our future. But you know what's a little bright light in the dark tunnel? Why, today I'm talking to Peter and Ari from Anamanaguchi, and if you don't know who that is, I'm going to read you their bio right now. In 2004, school chums Peter Berkman and James DeVito would form the chiptunes band Anamanaguchi, and 2 years later they released their debut EP Power Supply on the 8-Bit People's label. In 2009, Ari Warner and Luke Silas joined the band, cementing the lineup that continues to this day. In the last 16 years, the band has released over a dozen albums, EPs, compilations, and soundtracks, including the soundtrack to the Scott Pilgrim video game, and their latest album, Anyway, just came out in August on polyvinyl, and it's a delight. This is good. I've been listening to Anamanaguchi for a long time now, and Peter and Ari both have some interesting stories in their families, but one of the things I really liked about this episode, we went kind of long, but we ended up for a lot of the episode discussing the transformation of art over the last 20 years. It was a pretty fascinating discussion. The transformation into content and what that means and a lot of other stuff. I thought it was a cool talk. I like Peter and Ari. They're nice dudes. Coming up on the show, Hannah Francis. A couple other guests that I haven't recorded yet, so I don't want to name in case it falls through. But the Hannah Francis one is really great. Her new album's just brilliant. All right, the melatonin's kicking in, so before I doze off, I will say stay tuned for those episodes, but for now, let's talk to Peter and Ari. Ari,
yes.
You said your parents' vet is in Encino, so does that mean you grew up over on this side of the country, or does that mean that you that they moved here at some point?
Yeah, no, I born and raised in Los Angeles.
And
on the Valley Hollywood tip right there, but like I remember now just like the idea of like the vet was like somehow like always like an hour plus away for some reason.
It is. Everything's like 90,000 years away in this.
Sure.
town.
Yeah.
I hate it. Sorry, Pete. You're from the other side. I'm from the
other
originally.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the suburbs of New York City, in a little sleepy town called Chappaqua, New York.
Uh-huh. Okay. I think like where is that exactly? Like if you're taking like the bus out of New York and you're going, I guess you're going north?
Yeah, yeah. You take the metro north a little bit. I think northwest. I'm not sure about my cardinal directions and stuff, but
Straight north.
No, I want
Straight
the
north.
exact latitude and longitude of where this
I
is.
feel like it's 47 latitude. I'm not exactly sure. Deciduous though. It's in the deciduous region, forest wise.
Chappaqua.
but yeah.
Isn't that where like what's his face, the senator, like killed someone?
Oh, there actually are oh no, that you're thinking of the Chappaquiddick.
Oh, Chappaquiddick.
Yeah. Ted Kennedy he drove a car off Chappaquiddick or something like that. But yeah, it's funny. I got into a band called Chappaquiddick Skyline because of that Chappaqua connection. So yeah, even though it's a weird word, so I'll pay attention to anyone who uses that word or anything that looks like it. There's even a band called Chappaqua Wrestling, and they're based in the UK, which makes no sense. They changed their name to CW. I'm like, dude, you just lost a fan. I don't care now. I used to care.
Chappaqua Wrestling is a good name for a band.
It's a great name for a band, and it's an extra great name for a band because I have a friend who is the best of the lightweight wrestlers in Chappaqua. And now I have one less connection to that band, who are now CW. Now I just think about when the WB changed their name to the CW. So
yeah, hold on, sorry. There's already a network. I was gonna say giant network. Now they just show, I think, Christian propaganda, and I think
Gilmore Girls reruns, and what is Seventh Heaven? We love Gilmore Girls though.
Sure, we're all of the same age, roughly. I think Gilmore Girls is in our wheelhouse.
Wait, Chappaqua Wrestling, this band, they definitely no. Sorry, sorry.
What if the next hour was
it's
just
even
Chappaqua
It's even
Wrestling?
weirder. It's CQ Wrestling, dude. That's the worst name you could come up with. Like, come on, y'all. Chappaqua Wrestling.
I mean, British people can't spell Chappaqua. That's too advanced.
I grew up there. I could barely spell it. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Dude, their art is cool though.
So that's the thing. You say that name. First of all, it brings Guided by Voices to my head because they had a wrestling T-shirt. But like, you can picture the merch. And if you can picture the merch, hey, in this age where all you're doing is selling out anyway, right? If you can picture the merch, baby, you got a great band name.
Wait, they look really cool.
I love looking at the words Chappaqua Wrestling. I love saying it. They're onto something here.
Well, here's a question. Is that name back in play? If they've changed their name to CQ Wrestling. So my wife and I have a podcast called Couples Therapy. We started as a live show in New York. And we started it at the exact same time. Literally that same month, someone else started a show in Brooklyn. We were doing a show in the Lower East Side. They did a show in Brooklyn called Couples Therapy, and they were very angry, as if we had stolen it from them, even though it literally happened at the exact same time. So we changed the name, and then literally they stopped doing the show like a month or two later. So we just went back to Couples Therapy. So the name is in play, correct? So I could start a band called Chappaqua Wrestling.
Totally. Yeah, you free reign. I really want the people who took Anamanaguchi on Instagram and haven't posted anything to give us our name. That would be cool.
Chappaqua Wrestling still has the URL though. They're still squatting that.
But I'm saying, are you guys the three of us?
Well, if you start the band, we could
10 minutes
probably
ago?
send them like a cease and desist on that URL. Probably.
It doesn't matter. By the way, that stuff doesn't matter because so many people have used the name Couples Therapy for something in the last 10 years. And one time we thought, when it was actually really important, we got a copyright lawyer to send a cease and desist note.
It didn't work.
They ignored it. And then they stopped doing their thing. Everyone stops doing their thing after a while, except for the TV show. What are you going to do? So here's the thing. Ari, you grew up in Los Angeles. Pete, you grew up on the East Coast, outside of New York.
That's right.
I like starting with geography sometimes because I think I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I think it does affect you. It does affect how you are created as a person. I didn't understand pavement, really. I loved pavement, but I don't think I got pavement until I moved out here to Los Angeles, to California. And I'm wondering if the geography of the places where you grew up, if you've thought about how they've affected you. as a human being.
Yeah, I think about that all the time, honestly. Like, even the simple fact of like seasons makes a huge difference. Like, I know growing up in around New York, like what each season really feels like on a deep level. So yeah, that rhythm is like built into me. I feel weird if I don't have it. And yeah, what else is? I mean, there's so much to say about like the people that you grow up near and everybody deciding to be in the same place too. Like I sort of Ari, you might remember when we were on tour one time, touring the country early in our career, we stopped by this like hot spring in the middle of like a long stretch of nowhere, and I had this realization. I was like, yo, Ari, it's crazy. I feel like people settle places because of like certain things that are like around there. And Ari was like, yeah, you fucking idiot.
But it was a good point. I would move to that hot spring. It was pretty fire.
Yeah, exactly.
I live here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that like super basic point is like so obvious that people ignore it and take it for granted, and assume that, you could live in a vacuum when everything is actually not in a vacuum. So it's definitely something I've never taken for granted. I like writing about the place where I'm from, like even on USA, the previous record to this, that was like very much a like location based, like autobiographical type thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting though. You say that people move to a place because of a geographical reason, like say a hot spring. Where was this, by the way? Was this Arkansas? Because I know there's like a hot spring down there that's pretty famous. But
no, I think it was in the west side of the country.
Yeah, I think I was trying to find it like a year ago. I feel like it was kind of like New Mexico core or something like that.
I think so too. Something like that.
I think starting in the people have always moved for jobs, but I think starting in the 1950s, outside of like a geographical reason to move somewhere and outside of occupational reasons, I think there started to be like the kind of like white flight from the cities. And so it almost like the last, let's see here, 70 years of our country was a lot of people moving for, we could say racist reasons. I don't have to like pretend.
Sure.
I don't have to like candy coat the words or anything like that. And
I mean, in Levittown, where my dad grew up, you had to sign a piece of paper as a homeowner saying that you would not sell your home to a black family. That was like part of the deal.
Oh my God, Levittown. I mean, so your dad's like
my dad's from Long Island,
like, yeah, the real
True boom.
formation of like the suburbs. Your dad is like right there at ground zero.
Yeah, son of an orphan and born in the suburbs, the first ever suburbs, planned city.
So your grandfather was an orphan.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone back to try to figure out the family tree from there?
I have. My dad, on his dad's deathbed, he asked him, in person, can you tell us really what happened? And my sister, who is a stand-up comedian, she would quote this phrase he said back. He said, "Don't go there. It was the 90s," So
yeah. So your grandfather's deathbed he's like, "Don't talk."
Yeah, he said, "Don't go there. Talk to the hand." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he gave him the Dr. Evil. But yeah, it was. We've done some research into it since, and it's funny. I actually discovered, speaking of geography, that I live in Texas now. We found out that the first ever Berkmans in the U.S. like. First of all, we found out who his dad was, this guy, Abraham Berkman, who left him and his brother in an orphanage, which they escaped from, went back to New York. They were left in, I think, Alabama or Georgia or something like that. Anyways, so Abraham had a family in Waco, Texas. And apparently he died in Waco, Texas, and is buried at the Hebrew Rest Center in Waco, Texas. So I saw his grave for the first time a couple years ago. Sent a picture to my dad and all his siblings. And they were like, "Yep, whoa, that's him. You found him." And yeah, so now I'm a Berkman in Texas myself. I moved here a couple years ago. I live in Dallas.
Oh, yeah. That's a big old Jewish center.
It is, yeah. Yeah, Waco was like a super like it was like a Jewish, like honestly, little town in like the mid 1800s. A lot of people, I think, left Russia and Belarus and that zone. And yeah, I looked it up. They went to Canada first, and then they went to Waco. So go figure.
Wait, how did Waco then turn into Branch Davidians from being a Jewish stronghold?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to hit up the Waco historians, but I've been to Waco recently. It's honestly pretty sweet. Dr. Pepper.
Wait, that's where Dr. Pepper's from?
Yeah, I was gonna list off things, but yeah,
It's a good start.
Jews, Dr. Pepper, famous cult massacre. Famous
Yeah.
cult.
There is a really
Question
great
mark?
coffee shop there that hires differently abled people, and it was I had a great coffee there one time, and that's all that I know about the small town of Waco, Texas.
All right, I want to come back to this, but Ari, as someone who has been in Los Angeles for, 8 years now, and is still not absolutely thrilled that I've had to move here, nor is my wife. I'm curious about your feelings on the city and what it was like growing up here. And now I have to ask, hold on, before you even start, is that what was that pregnant pause? Well, as you gathered your thoughts, was that a good pregnant pause, or was that, or like you were just like, oh, let me try to figure this out, or was that like, I don't even know where to start?
No, I don't know where to start with that one for sure, and it's something that's evolved over time a lot. I mean, like, yeah, I was born there, moved to New York when I was 17, and never moved back. So I guess that says something in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, I don't know, it was very fun to grow up there on a like sort of like a watching the world, like in a watching sense. Like in a like it's you see a lot of weird stuff that you wouldn't usually see, I guess. But I don't know. It was as someone who's fully seasoned converted. I live in New York now. I live in Lower Manhattan, but I'm also in upstate New York a lot, switching a little bipolar with my vibes. But yeah, I love the seasons and all that. I don't know. It was funny. It was weird to grow up there. I feel like I was really conscious of it being a small bubble, like one of like the most important bubbles in the world, but like still a tiny bubble.
For the listener, that was in quotes, by the way.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It was funny. I feel like I saw a funny thing. I think it was like Ethel Cain that was being interviewed recently, and said something along the lines of like, I would never leave this, like the South or whatever, to like move to LA or something, because like what I'm gonna do, like write more songs about like Sunset Boulevard and like Hollywood and like all that thing. And I was like, I feel like 15-year-old me kind of clocked that pretty quickly. I was like, this was probably so fun and amazing for my parents that came from like, my mom was like deep middle of nowhere in Quebec and my dad was from Flint, Michigan. So moving to LA in the 80s, incredibly exotic and wild. And like I'm sure like for them, it was like the wildest thing in the world. But for me, I felt probably very quickly like, my identity will not develop in this setting. So
I don't want to be mean to. That's a horrible way to start a sentence. Okay, I'm gonna say it this way.
I don't want to be mean, but this is absolute bullshit.
One of my favorite bands growing up was AFI, and I think geography maybe speaks to this a little bit, because I don't know, there are a lot of bands that I love, and then I visit where they're from, and I discover it's like, whoa, geographically they had like similar trees, they had similar like hills, stuff like that. Like discovering what Chapel Hill, Porter Robinson, where he grew up, it's like, oh, no wonder we have such similar vibes. Like this is a sleepy suburb with like beautiful trees and woods and streams to explore and stuff like that. And I think the same thing is probably true. I've never been there, with Ukiah, California, which is where all the AFI guys are originally from, and like Berkeley, but really suburbs. And then Sing the Sorrow is a lot of people's like last record that they really, really loved from AFI. I love a couple songs here and there, but they moved to LA, and like Ari said, it's like,
Yeah.
here's a couple songs about how the fashion industry is fake. Here's a couple songs about like, and here it is again and again and again. And yeah. So it again, I love them. But yeah, there's a moment where like Los Angeles has this ability, and you could even just edit everything out up until here. Los Angeles has this ability to present itself as the world when really it's not even a patchwork of the world, like somewhere like Tokyo can be, or even somewhere like Las Vegas. Honestly, it's more like, I don't know. It sounds so cliche, but it's like a mirage.
No, you're right.
It's a mirage of a
yes. It's a lower
patchwork.
tier city with a great publicist.
Well, we love publicity. We love publicity, but
because it's able to give the idea that it's a top tier city that's in competition with New York. No, it's not. It's absolutely not in competition. There are, like, if you think about like great cities in the United States, you have New York, New Orleans, Chicago, San Francisco. I mean, I don't know about now, but San Francisco certainly at some point,
it
right?
had its moment. Yeah. A long moment.
LA, the people here get very defiant about a lot of things, especially like the food. And I'm like, I've lived plenty of other places and I've visited plenty of other places. The food is fine. Stop pretending like you are every small taqueria in a strip mall is some kind of Michelin rated restaurant. It's fine.
Well, it can feel that way, especially when like you have to drive 45 minutes to get there and wait in a 45-minute line. And
that's
also,
the thing.
Also, everyone who's probably championing those taquerias like moved to LA and put their full life on the line to move there in the first place. So you have to definitely big ups it so that your choices feel validated, which I understand. That's a dynamic many people go through and stuff. I'm much more zen about it all, even though I can I feel like, I don't know, growing up there, I definitely had like the bullshit detecting skills of like a 30-year-old by the time I was probably 13 or something. Which is a plus for it, I guess, also on that level. But you can you see the layers, you see where people are coming from pretty quickly with even a taqueria suggestion.
You're both absolutely right. But yes, people invest their egos in the move here because they're like, this is, I think there's a lot of people that come here. My wife and I moved here already kind of in the middle of our careers. We kind of done everything we could do in New York. Because, there's like kind of a ceiling on like television and film there.
100%. Yeah.
Which I didn't think. I thought New York was the end. I thought that's where we were going, that we were done there. She's from New York. She's like, I don't want to leave here. But then.
Dude, that's what I thought. And here I am in beautiful Dallas. Yeah.
Hey, home of David Berman. Like, you couldn't ask for anything.
Yeah, I could go to the Grapevine Mills Mall and yeah. It's beautiful.
But I think a lot of people come here with a dream. And so all their ego is invested in it. So everything has to be the best. But Ari, I'm very curious. I picked up on that before when you said like, I have to leave here by 17. That seemed like a very adult minded decision or at that age.
It was incredibly not conscious and thought out and clear or anything. Yeah, no, I unfortunately, it was not some like, damn, like I figured it all out, like here's here's the deal. It was more just it's stuff that I can like look back on so much later now and just be kind of like, oh, I could tell I was like things were brewing. I was like feeling things for sure in a subconscious way. And no, it wasn't like I've got this whole strategy planned and dialed. I was very much so just kind of going where things felt right. I guess.
But I'll say this though. You felt it, and instead of ignoring that feeling or pushing it to the side, or the fact that you were even in touch with whatever was going on inside you and that you could kind of access it to the point where even unconsciously you're like, I got to get out of here. I think that is, at least comparing with myself, who was just kind of like shut off from that when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I was lucky to be able to, experience other parts of the world and stuff and all that.
How so? What? Let me ask a couple questions and you can pick it up wherever. What brought your parents to Los Angeles in the first place? And then what did they do here, and what gave you access to? You just said visiting other parts of the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, by visiting, I mean when I moved to New York, but also
okay.
before that. But my parents were giving you the speed version. Both married totally separately.
Two other
to
people, you mean? Yes.
Yes. And they're both musicians as well in the classical world. They were on tour. They were touring the Nutcracker in Canada, and my mom didn't speak English, but my dad and her were speaking some other love language clearly, and ended up having, I don't know, falling in love with each other and being like, do you want to just completely dip from our worlds and move to LA and try something totally different? And they did that successfully, because I was born. No, yeah, that's their story and how they got to LA. But yeah, again, from very incredibly different worlds.
So they were in an orchestra together.
Yeah, they were touring together, like playing like in a orchestra together just for that tour.
And your mom only spoke French. She's Quebecois.
Yes, she's from Quebec. Yeah. And it was a good kind of like one-off thing, but then they hit it off from there, and yeah.
So, and then what do they do here? Like work on soundtracks? Do they join the LA Philharmonic? What was
so my mom stopped doing stuff. She couldn't even legally work because she wasn't even legally in the country. But my dad, like from there, went on to be like doing like studio music stuff. He was like a studio music, like a session guy who French horn player.
And his latest session, well, not his latest, but he plays on our album for the first time. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Huge moment. Big ups for that one.
Yeah.
Was that weird for you?
No, it was sick. I mean, it was also really, it was fun and casual. It's like, you almost like forget it. We were kind of like, yo, it'd be sick to sort of have like the kind of like horn thing.
Yeah, we were in a rush. Like we had a day in the studio. We're like, quick, we need a French horn part. Yeah, Ari, who plays French horn? Your dad does. Yeah, send us to him. And he fired it back. He sent the file, and we're good.
Yeah, he just like recorded it like immediately. I feel like there would have been like an 18-year-old me would have been like, no, dad, like you're not going on my record. And now that we're old enough to not give a shit about anything and just have good times, it's like, yo, hell yeah, I want my dad on this record. That'd be sick. Like, do a solo. That'll be cool. No, it was very fun. It was very cool that could happen and stuff. But but that's that was that world to be had. That was ripe for that.
You would visit Quebec, right, Ari?
So yeah, definitely in the summers I would go from whatever LA Hollywood life to go chill on like farms in Quebec for like a month at a time and stuff. And so I definitely knew about that world as well. Like I had like all my like friends and stuff that were all like cool Quebec farm kids, and like all my like sort of, what's it called, like chosen family type things like that. Like they were not necessarily by blood, but definitely like I had my whole other like summer world in Quebec that I always loved the environment, loved the people, the food, all of the above. And I would also, my best friend that I grew up with moved to France when I was in 5th grade. So I would start also going to France and spending time there, like alone from when I was like 11 on or whatever, in the South. And I feel like those definitely gave me some, it was fun. I was a little skater punk kid, like no cell phones or anything. France was just like, yo, go ball out.
Yeah, I just imagine like the French countryside, like a stone wall that dates back to like the 1300s, and you're doing a whatever that thing is where you put the wax down and you do the
100%. There was like a fountain.
Board.
It was in Avignon was the town, which is like it's like an old castle town, and like there was like the main center square has like a beautiful, probably whatever, hundreds and hundreds of years old, like fountain that we would just wax the shit out of it and like do some grinds, maybe like Sharpie a cool S on something, or like a little anarchy logo or something, just let them know what's up.
Cool. Peter, I want to go back to your grandfather first, or your great grandfather first.
The great Abraham.
I want to go to Abraham. Did you ever find out, did anyone ever explain what happened where he just like decided that your grandfather and his brother, did you say that, where he's like, he can't take care of them?
Yeah, I think I deduced this. He was married in Waco, and he seems like he was like a traveling businessman type, and he went to New York, and he had 2 kids with this Irish woman, and then he drove down to Florida. On the way, dropped the 2 kids, and then and nobody knew where he went, and I guess he just fucked off back to Texas. So, my grandpa and his brother, I believe the story goes, they broke out of the orphanage as soon as they could, which was like maybe age like tween age, like 10, 11 type beat. And then story goes, I don't know if this is true, that they like stole a car. I don't think they stole a car. They probably just hitched a ride up to New York in search of their mother, and they never found her. Then he just lived in New York for a long time. Frank Berkman. Frank became a like hotel guy. He like came up in that industry. There's such a thing called the Frank W. Berkman Award. Don't look up the recipients of the Frank W. Berkman Award.
Uh-oh.
It's an all-star cast. Yeah, you got Rudy Giuliani, you got Donald Trump, you got who's that guy that got canceled from the Today Show? Remember Matt Lauer?
Matt Lauer for having
these are all people who have done great things for the city. No, but
door that traps people. Yeah. So wait, what did he do in hotels? Like he became like a hotel magnate?
I don't know about a magnate.
Like he owned hotels or he worked in hotels?
He like worked in hotels. Like I don't know exactly what capacity, but he was a great guy. I knew him well. He died when I was about 11 years old, 10, 11, and he was married to his wife, my grandmother, for that whole time. She had passed away. She passed away like a couple weeks late or before him, I believe. So it was one of those things where they both die sort of at the same time. And but yeah, he was just always super generous, super loved his family. I think did the exact opposite of what had happened to him. And because he had a big family of, my dad had like 7 siblings or so. I just maybe made up a sibling for him, but that's fine. And yeah, he cared for them very, very much. But as far as business goes, like, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Frank Berkman Hotels. What exactly did he do?
And wait, while you're looking that up, if you can do 2 things at once, the award, what is the award for, and why did it go to the 21st century's worst monsters?
Not sure. Yeah, he was not around for most of those awards to be given out, but all that I remember is for Trump, the reason given was apparently there was this was the year that he made the Central Park ice skating rink public or something like that. He like took some step to do that. This was in like the 90s or something, before there was an inkling that this man would be what he is. Well, maybe there were inklings, but so yeah. But as I'm looking this up, I really don't know exactly what he did in the hotel world.
I guess I'm just more curious about, is he one of that? There was a generation where there was a little more class mobility.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, he was in World War II. He came home. He got veteran housing in Levittown. He worked 3 jobs, like with 6 kids, and he was like a total, like, the story of class mobility. Literally started as an orphan with nothing, like actually legitimately nothing. And I wouldn't say it was simply through gumption, but he certainly had lots of gumption. And I think the country, maybe even especially New York, was well suited for somebody like him. So yeah.
Can we get that award as a band?
Hotel sales management. He was like I don't know exactly what that means, but I honestly should know more about him. But he's a cool guy, Frank Berkman.
Yeah, Ari asked, is it possible to get the Frank Berkman Award for the band?
As a band, yeah.
Dude, we'd better do some work for the city. I think it's New York centric, and I am not even there, so I have no connections to ice skating rinks, and hopefully I will not become a monster in my later years. But
well, why don't you pull a Cuomo? All of you move to New York just to do something in order to win the award, and then you can go do whatever you want after that.
Yeah, we can open up a
Yes.
second ice skating rink. Could be sick.
Tourism achievement. That's the field that
Tourism
we have to. That's the field that we need to really excel in.
Found a new concert series in one of the parks.
That's actually
Perfect.
a really good idea.
Then I'm getting this award too. You better credit me.
You got it, man. Of course.
Okay, I'm coming back to this. I'm ping ponging here because I find both these stories interesting. Ari, where did you grow up here in the city?
I was born in Beechwood Canyon, if you see where that is. And then I went to school in Los Feliz and then Culver City.
Oh, that's far. I mean, at least in my.
Yeah, it sucked. It was like, at least like 2 hours in the car a day. And in the morning, I had to listen to classical music. I wasn't allowed to play my Limp Bizkit CDs until after school. And then I could play whatever. After school, I was allowed to play Game Boy in the car and play whatever CDs I wanted. So, and there's usually heavier traffic on the 10 at the end of the day. So I maximized that time. But yeah, it was, Culver City, Los Feliz, Beechwood, kind of Studio City area, that general. Those are the pockets.
What did you do? Because it seems as an adult, I'm struggling to like find something that's. I mean, look, it's fun. I have friends. We do things. I'm not like saying like, oh, there's nothing here. But I'm just saying that like it doesn't feel lively. And I'm curious what it was like when were you growing up? Like the 90s or so?
Yeah.
I heard Limp Bizkit in there. That makes me think 90s.
Born in 88. So yeah, it would have been that period. I mean, I don't know. There was everything. I don't know. For me, like I would skate a lot. That was like a huge part of it. I feel like weirdly, I definitely have fond memories of like, I mean, like the way people talk about, sort of being, I guess I would sort of experience this also, because I would go to Michigan to see my cousins a lot as a kid. And like the whole, like the idea of like kind of like suburban driving, of kind of just like driving around aimlessly at night and like, whatever, going to like a drive-through or something. Mm-hmm. I feel like I did that in LA, but like on a very cracked out version of that, where it'd be sort of like, yes, a drive-through, but then also some like, whatever sketchy party somewhere, and then also someone's like weird mansion that like they're letting a 15-year-old take over, and then also it's like that like aimless kind of driving, but just with the destinations being kind of just a little too insane basically. But that's kind of the fond memories, is definitely being like in the like just like load all the homies in the car and just be like, let's go cruise, see what happens tonight.
Mm-hmm. But like
that's like only a year of my life, I guess, because like I moved when I was 17, so that was like feels like a lot. But
you were like a skater punk kind of guy.
I like to skate. I liked punk music. Yeah, that'd be. I mean, I also started. That's also, I guess, kind of when I started. I remember going to EDC, that rave that like now is like huge, like Electric Daisy Carnival, that like used to be kind of like a smaller thing. Like, and I had like some friends that were older than me that would do that kind of like a little bit like further out in like Inland Empire areas and stuff like that. And I feel like I was branching out around then too. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like playing bands, go to shows. Mm-hmm. They're weird. They're like very just like, it's like all the kids from all the high schools hanging out and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's anything else I can think of. I don't want to put on the record. It's a little.
Okay. I see.
Speaking of the record, I've had some time to do a little bit of speed research here, and I found a library article from a journal called Hotel and Management, Volume 211, Issue 7, Requiem for a Mentor and Friend, written in memory of my grandfather, who it turns out died when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And it says here that he began his career as an elevator operator at the Knights of Columbus Hotel. He was able to build the membership of the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International to over 5,000. So there you go. That's his claim to fame. That is why the Frank W. Berkman Tourism Achievement Award was created in his honor in 1994.
Wow.
There you go. So yeah, he literally started as a elevator operator at a hotel in New York. So that's a job a robot does nowadays.
But you didn't know about any of this stuff. I mean, obviously you didn't know about that exactly until you just read it now. But like, so you didn't know any of the stuff when you were growing up. What did your dad do for a living? Was your mom around? Were they together?
Yeah, they're still together. It's amazing. My dad is a funny guy. He, you know, he went to college for psychology, had nothing to do with psychology after that. Spent a lot of his time in college dicking around at the TV production studio that was brand new in 1968 to 1972. And then he fumbled around and worked in kitchens in colleges. You know, he told me one time he saw Bruce Springsteen play a concert and was like, that guy's going to be famous. And people are like, he already is, you idiot. And then
1985.
Yeah. And then he became part of a different part of the like hospitality industry. He's been in travel, specifically like air travel, like, you know, he's essentially like in the travel agency business, still working. He is 75 years old. You cannot get this man to stop. He's been there for since I was born and before. So probably in the early 80s is when he began that. But yeah, that's my dad. He's great. Love him to bits.
We love Ed.
Yeah. My mom, similar to Ari's mom, when she got the opportunity to not work, she did not work. And then when the travel industry took a huge, for lack of a better, well, when it, I'm trying to say this nicely and I can't, when it like had a disastrous turn after 9/11.
Wait, what happened then?
I don't remember. The details are unclear, but yeah, we had to like sell our house and move to you know, a different part of town, and my mom had to get a job, and you know, life changed. So, but yeah, somehow he's still rocking it. Yeah, he got furloughed over COVID, and then now he's back. Famous Mr. Ed. We love him.
When that happened, like, was that right away? Or was that like 2002, 2003? Things started to kind of like, there was a downturn because no one was really, air travel was not.
We knew it was right away. He knew it was right away. It was very much like the whole world's changed. It was like a, you know, Kennedy getting his head blown off on TV moment, I think, where it was like, everything is going to be different now. And, you know, my dad, he loves telling me stories of like, there used to be a phrase, you can write your own ticket. It's like, what does that mean? Well, as a travel agent, you would give someone first of all, there are no security lines at all. But like, you could just like getting an airplane ticket, you wouldn't have to check in with someone. Like if you had a travel agent, you could like just show up and hop on the plane like you would on a train, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, he knew instantly that everything was going to change and that simply that industry would never be the same. And I don't know, it's something that's translatable to the music world, where we entered the music world knowing that it would never be the same as the music world that inspired us growing up. You know, like Ari and I were born 4 days apart from each other in 1988. And that means when we were 5, 6, 7 years old, you know, I don't think Ari really had a TV in his house, but we were absorbed in the world of like MTV and music radio and the music industry being like, this is the actual coolest thing you can be doing. This is peak. And so, you know, putting our lives towards this thing, which as you enter the 21st century, maybe a 6-year-old is like, I'm going to like make a game, or I'm going to make a tech company, or I'm going to like make a robot or a program or something like that. But yeah, so I think we have an awareness and understanding that like the world has changed and we have to like change with it. You know, we don't really have expectations one way or the other, but yeah, like my dad, we're kicking. And that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I think about this a lot. I'm a little older than you both, but I think we had enough of the 20th century in us. Both. I mean,
and I have an older brother. Older brother helps a lot. I got a speed run of the early 80s.
Yeah. But like it formed me in a way where I thought I mean, I was dumber than both of you. Like, I didn't come into this thinking that things had changed. I thought I would still be able to do, like, the stuff that really beckoned me was like 90s indie films. The stuff that, like, television, certainly comedy are the things that I'm like really interested in. And I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'll be able to, if other people can do that. I know other people come from a kind of middle-class background. I know other people that have been able to do that. And I didn't clock that the world had changed. And I think the way that you two both had. And so I was just kind of like, like dopily walking through this. And I've been able to make a living and do some stuff that I wanted to do.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
How old were you when AIM came around?
Oh, God. So that would have been what, the early 90s? I would have been 12.
Yeah. I remember there was a big difference between the people born in 88 and the people born in like 84, like my brother's age. The difference between us would be everybody born before 1985 would type with like perfect punctuation and like capital letters and stuff on AIM. And they would make fun of us freaks who spoke in the AIM slang and stuff.
Really?
Abbreviations. Actually, yeah, that's what it was like in my town, at least.
I had a similar experience with that.
So wait, like people my age are grammar police?
Not grammar police, but grammar affectionate. Like,
because by the way, ACAB counts for grammar police too.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, guys, you're not safe. Yeah,
you're out.
Because
grammar police get the whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the thing that you brought up, I am curious about, knowing that things had changed. Because I think about this other thing a lot too, in that it was, if I'm using this right, selling out was, I was about to say, not selling out was sacrosanct. The idea that you would like put your song in a commercial, that you would license it or whatever.
Yeah, and posers existed.
Yeah.
Right.
And it absolutely through the 2000s.
Holy shit, Ari, that's insane. I haven't heard that word applied.
Yeah.
Wow, it's true.
Poser.
Absolutely changed. Absolutely. And out of necessity, because it was like, well, how else am I supposed to? I remember a friend of mine who was in a popular indie rock band in the 2000s. He was talking to me about like licensing rights. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, well, I have kids. What do you want me to like what else are we supposed to do? It's not since you could just download an album for nothing. Like how else?
If I have a child and it says like, oh, I want to start like a popular YouTube channel, I'm gonna try calling it a poser and see if we can like bring it back into the culture.
Very Warped Tour,
dude. Yeah. Somebody acknowledging the existence of posers, to me, it feels at this point like a religious belief.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean posers? Like, explain that to me. You believe in posers? That's crazy. Yeah.
Like, well, back in my day, we used to see things a little different.
Yeah, that is such a thing that we take for granted in our worldview. And it's crazy how, a generation can completely change. I want to reference actually something that I've seen that, speaking of formative years, something that was like extremely formative to me was a public. I keep on talking about public stuff. Our latest album was made in a public university, essentially, public university town, Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. We recorded in another public university town in Fredonia, New York. But when I was in 7th grade art class, when the teacher couldn't be there one day, she wheeled in the device, the TV device, and she showed in our public school a PBS Frontline documentary called The Merchants of Cool. And it was a documentary made by a fella named Doug Rushkoff.
Yeah.
Who, you know him?
Yeah, he's great.
Heard of him? Yeah, he's fantastic.
Like a futurist.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if he would take that title anymore, but he's called a futurist because in 1994 he was explaining on CNN that email is going to take over the world and your children are going to live their lives online. And the anchors were all like, "You're fucking crazy, you fucking psychopath." He was like, "No," and he wrote a book called Media Virus, which is where all these children's dream of going viral comes from. And but that's not what I saw. I saw him in this documentary called The Merchants of Cool, which was about the industry of cool hunting, which was really like a peek behind the curtain of the programming of MTV and the WB and WWF, like Viacom, the way that basically like, how do we take this audience and package them and sell them back to themselves? And that shocked me as a seventh grader. He made a sequel to that documentary in 2014 called Generation Like, where he applies the same principles to its automated robotic form in the form of YouTube algorithm and Facebook newsfeed. Again, back in 2014, this was a bigger deal, or maybe it's more invisible now. But there's this amazing part in Generation Like where the children of the 90s are put in stark contrast to the 2010s. And he literally asked the question, like, what does selling out mean to you? And their answers are like, well, if you sold out, that means like you made it. You sold out all the things. Like, that's amazing. And like, and everybody, all these teenagers, they each have like complete answers for what is selling out. And not a single one has anything to do with the notion of like maintaining your authenticity under the eye of mass surveillance, of mass attention. Nobody has that thought of like having like an authentic self that maintains itself despite interaction with other forces. It's as if they are not aware it's something that could even be in danger, and let alone exist. Which is not to say it doesn't exist. It certainly does. Which is sort
It'd be
of
hard though. It'd be hard to be a poser right now on the internet. Like it's like
what is it doesn't exist. The concept is dead because the only thing is the pose, is the mirage, is the PR.
Yeah, I feel an indignity when I have to like. It's funny. I feel an indignity not while I'm making a vertical content thing, like a vertical video.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I had to unpack our van. I was the only one left with the van, and I had gigantic guitar cabinets in it and, you know, hundreds of pounds of stuff that I had to unload to my studio. And I thought to myself, I'm just going to film myself doing this, and I'm going to break down everything that I'm moving, and it's going to help me move it. And I'm going to feel better about myself because I'm being productive in two ways instead of just one. And I shot this thing and I was like, that was really cool. And then I sent it to the band. I was like, this is awesome. And then I posted it on TikTok and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking horrible.
Wait, what was so the minute? Because I'll have a, once I see something, once it's online and then I'm like seeing it through the eyes of like a stranger in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is either good or bad. Like, what was that the same thing for you where you were suddenly seeing it through the eyes of like a stranger, or what was going on in that moment?
Yes, I was seeing myself as something completely deprived of context, and humans weren't meant to live this way. Actually, we were not meant to live this way. We are not meant to experience each other in this way, and it is, I'd say with full certainty, it is dangerous. It is deeply, deeply dangerous.
Yeah.
To let that illusion present itself as reality. And to not have the skills, like Ari was talking about, the sort of bullshit detection skills, which I definitely share growing up in Chappaqua when I did. It's similar age, skate punk guy. Yes. Punk rock helped a lot there. So back to the point though here. There's an amazing movie on YouTube right now which deals with this exact thing. It's another documentary. Have you ever heard of the influencer Jeremy Fragrance?
No. And that's his given name. That's his parents. He comes.
Oh yeah.
Like,
that's his
Joanne
that's his
and
birth
Derek
name.
Fragrance, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he's part of the Fragrance dynasty. He is a 36-year-old video maker from Germany.
By the way, you were about to say a YouTuber, which is a legitimate thing at this point, but you like almost gagged on the word.
I did gag on the word because to call him a YouTuber would be a reduction. He's an Instagram maven. He's a TikTok maven. He's all over the place. The thing is, I almost called him like a content creator, and I shudder at that word the most.
But sorry, just to interrupt, we are talking about the line between making something, and it's not like there aren't people making good art or real art or something that's like meaningful art now. It's just that there's also the line between most people making something that like came out of their souls, in quotes, versus content, which has taken over a large part.
Yeah, and the problem is there's no line between that right now. Like people literally refer to art as content and content as art. Like,
Yeah, it's like our new album is content.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people would say that.
This podcast
is more content. Yes.
Even though I think that the reason I do this is to have these kinds of conversations and really have meaningful kinds of talks about this kind of stuff, it's technically just content, even though I think that I'm doing something.
I would add, according to certain people who maybe lack finer articulation, it is content. But in reality, what we're doing here is something more, I think, or something that we could at least be more particular about speaking.
Yes.
About.
So anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. The fragrance.
No. Yeah. So the Jeremy Fragrance documentary is actually quite amazing. You can get a basic idea for who this man is by imagining a beautiful looking model type man with blonde hair in an all white suit, staring directly into the camera with his bright blue eyes, clapping his hands, turning around, and the video stopping like mid sentence for him. He's like the Tommy Wiseau of like fragrance reviews, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
He's like this character who is so mysterious. Like what is this mystery of a human being who in one sentence says, "This is the fragrance red number 6. It is very important in the morning to stimulate your penis. And if you don't do this," and then the video just cuts off. It's like,
and this is not a character. This is not like this is not.
Well,
like,
that's the question. That's the question that this documentary. That's the question that the documentary poses. So this fella Nick Robinson says, I have questions that can only be answered by meeting this man in person. I need to discover what is happening here, because it seems indicative of a larger trend, and this man is unique in some regard. So he went to Miami in search of answers, and he gets them. And at the heart of it is a deeply conflicted individual who wants to maintain his sense of self in the, again, under the lens of billions, and not just billions, but robots and stuff like that. He talks about, God, for all the stuff that you can mention about the way that he puts on affectations in videos, he says he's got 5 modes. I have cocaine mode, I have brain dead mode, I have this mode. And so people have all these expectations of him, like, oh, he's on drugs or whatever, which he's not, I don't think. But the thing about the documentary that really struck me the most is it applies to his real life as well. He has something he calls the no underwear thing. And it's a confidence move that he gives himself in life, where he'll wear no underwear, and he views it as like a trick to tap into an energy where he can suppress himself. And he got, for instance, he talks about like talking to this girl, and he needed an extra confidence boost, so he did the no underwear thing, or he got the news that his father passed away, and he had no reaction at all on the phone because he happened to not be wearing his underwear. And then he talks about putting his underwear on and crying. He talks about this as a psychological anchor, and something that like he has an association with that allows him to be somebody else. So it's amazing to me that even somebody who might seem so outsider and crazy, there are GQ profiles on this guy about like his outlandishness. He's got millions and millions of followers on all of these different services. Even for him, there is a soul that he wants to maintain. He does one take for all his videos. Like, there's a reason why he'll cut off after 15 seconds. He thinks he has the timing down, but he doesn't. It's amazing. I would recommend anybody watch this great documentary. But this is all to say, this is the awareness that I think Ari and I share about pop culture in a world which is really a surveillance culture.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think this is why I was very curious, Ari, about growing up in Los Angeles because you are I mean, you didn't grow up in Hollywood, which, by the way, for the listeners, Hollywood is not Hollywood. When you think of like Hollywood, Hollywood is a piss-soaked stretch of street with like people in like bad costumes, kind of like Times. It's like if Times Square was like post-apocalyptic.
I, for the record, did grow up in Hollywood for sure.
You grew up in Hollywood proper? Like, I thought, because the way you said it, I thought you were in like the hills or something.
Well, I mean, Beechwood Canyon is like, that's the park that I played in is literally right under the Hollywood sign. And my dad like rented like a little studio on like Hollywood Boulevard and whatever. I don't remember street names, like wherever like Amoeba is now.
Yes.
So definitely did actually grow up there.
It's like around Hollywood and Vine.
Yes, but this is baby me. I mean, this is way before I understood shit.
But you at least grew up adjacent to, like,
Sure.
it was there, and you kind of
very much so around that world. Yes,
whether by osmosis or not, I have to assume that it either was something enticing or not. And I'm kind of curious about, because you did go into making art.
I did. I feel like I was probably around a lot of people that were sort of, living life like it was content, honestly, at like that point in time before that was like so much of a delineated thing. And I feel like I did feel that the differences between the two. Yeah, obviously I was around a world of like the making it, being successful in culture was at the forefront of the general drive of that city, I guess, and like everyone like involved in it, which definitely felt always a volatile thing that can both help and deter with the process of making art. But I don't know. I feel like you'd have to ask my peers if that seems like something that like fucked with me or not.
I mean, if I can jump in, I mean, there's two things there. One is if you grow up in Hollywood and your dad has a studio on Hollywood Boulevard, so you can walk down the stars, the Walk of Stars or whatever, and you can see actors who were famous in the 1930s and who you've never heard of before. There are people there where I'm just like, it really taught me how fleeting all this is. And
sure,
if you're chasing notoriety over anything else, it's going to just evaporate at some point and no one's going to know who the fuck you are. I think about this a lot. If you asked most people who Einstein is, they would be able to say like the, guy with the funny hair that was in that movie Oppenheimer or something. Like they would have something, but like they wouldn't be able to talk about relativity necessarily or Brownian motion or any of the kind of discoveries that he made that were paradigm shifting.
Sure. I mean, I feel like my version of that would have been more that like, I would say more than LA. Like I went through like the era of MySpace. So I'd be like, it's cool. Like I went from like being like a teenager growing up on MySpace to like knowing all the cool kids on MySpace and like running through the like social climbing of MySpace to coming out that being like, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, this is like very like, which yeah, by the time I got to New York and MySpace was like
dead
on its dying levels in terms of like having a social output to it. It's very kind of like, yeah, like this, like if you put all your eggs in the basket of notoriety and celebrity, like obviously that, can just be pulled out from below you at any point in time. So it's weird to care about it too much, I guess, from the get-go.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking of was your parents come from the world of classical music, which I don't know about the actual world of it, but the composition end of it, there's definitely, because it's not popular, there's more integrity in creating. Like you don't create, at least I don't think so. At least a lot of the modern composers I've talked to on the show, it doesn't seem like people are creating in order to either make content or, Terry Riley wasn't making content. Terry Riley wasn't making something to be famous necessarily. And I wonder if that got into you at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I genuinely just like to have fun when I'm making stuff and always followed wherever fun was. I think I can like look back at it in heady ways, but I feel like if I'm being honest with myself, it was more just like literally where am I going to have the most fun doing stuff and making things and who's I going to be with and where is that going to happen? I feel like that is always what I let drive me. But
yeah. Is that what drove you to move to New York?
It's sort of, yeah, but I didn't really know until I got there. Right. So I feel like that's, who knows? That's definitely what drove me to stay in New York. It's like once I was there and like was like, oh, this is very fun. I'm having a good time. I'm meeting cool people. We're playing shows. We're playing like, like all the like, like I would listen to like a lot of music, but like going to like shows in LA when I was a kid was like going to the Roxy or going to the Whiskey and stuff like that. It was before you had like the smell and like DIY era stuff or whatever. But Brooklyn was like, oh, this is like I'm playing the shows that I imagined in my head. That I had the world of like there's like a half pipe over here and like the second story is falling apart and like there's just no rules here. Like it's like just like straight, we're having the best time in the world. I was like, this is like what people in LA are making movies about, but like doesn't exist in real life. And then, like experienced it there. And I was like, oh, people are like living this life here. Like they're just like having fun. That was the first gateway, at least for Neuro. Like once that was happening, I was like, oh, this is my shit. I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
I want to say something about what you mentioned about this aspect of like, I don't know. You said, yeah, people would look at Einstein and say that's the guy with the funny hair with the tongue and the Oppenheimer and whatnot, and maybe be less aware of why he's important at all and stuff. I just got to thinking that like it really is an environmental awareness. I think that makes Ari and I friends with each other. First of all, like we were both at NYU, and like anybody, you sniff the room, and it's like, how do we feel about this situation? And I think we felt a similar way about it, or at least we noticed similar things. And I don't know, I that environmental awareness for me kicked in also pretty early in my life. Certainly before 9/11. There was there's this home. My dad used to take lots of home movie footage. Like he had one of those like, big camcorders, and we watched back a ton of that stuff. And there's this footage of like a parade going on when we're like 5 or 6. I'm like 5 or 6, and my older brother and the rest of them, they're parading with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff. And I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's my first words were turtle power. But as this parade was happening, I was like, even then I was like, something's not right here. I don't want to join the parade. I don't want to like engage in this thing that is like, what are we doing here? We're like parading around turtle symbols. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with this. And I don't know, maybe that's just me being antisocial, but it's not, because maybe it is. But maybe that antisocialness is like just awareness of like a difference of where the fun is or where the fun could be. It's funny, when you mentioned Brownie in Motion, that's like at the level that I'm interested in things. And like, not to say that we're fucking Einstein or anything like that, but certainly that as artists, I think it's our job, our calling in life to pay attention to reality and when things sort of change. And Einstein was talking about like these like seemingly random things and how to explain them in a world that was only just getting comfortable talking about those things. Like there were a lot of people older than him who were still living it. You don't have an Einsteinian world without a Newtonian world before it,
Mm-hmm.
And certainly a lot of people had lost belief in that as well. I don't know. It's funny. Wow. There's that word again. Yeah. Like that. It's always like that. Always Sunny. You ever watch that show?
Mm-hmm.
Where Mac is like giving the presentation, science is a liar sometimes. he's having this like religious argument or whatever. But yeah, it's like in the same way that like science can feel like a religious belief, like Einsteinian or Newtonian, like you have to accept these premises or else whatever. It's like when Ari was talking about, do we believe in posers? Do we believe honestly, I think the ultimate question here is like, do we believe in the existence of like a soul, an authentic self or something like that? And maybe I'm just rambling, but I happen to have I've taken an interest in Aristotelian psychology in my free time. Which I give myself. Yeah, exactly. And he says something to the effect of like the soul basically becomes whatever it beholds. And that is a horrible reduction of it. But
Was it like Nicomachean Ethics or something?
in his Peripsyche, on the soul, psychology comes from the word psyche in Greek, and he wrote Peripsyche in Latin, De Anima in English, on the soul. And it's the soul, if it becomes whatever it beholds, we've certainly made different things for it to behold and for it to become. Living in a different technological environment, one with TV versus one with computers, it's easy to make people who can't see things the same way as each other, or it's difficult for them to relate. And, this explains things like generation gap, when radio people created TV people and then they couldn't, figure things out amongst themselves. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're in a obviously like blessed and cursed situation of being really in between two worlds. I think you probably share this as someone born in the early 80s, that like we know what the world was like before the iPhone. We even know what the world was like before the cell phone. We know what the world was like, but we don't know what the world was like before satellites, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even simply having the awareness that there was a world before iPhone gives us the ability to imagine a world without satellite. Does that make sense? Like, if we can understand the absence of something else, we can understand the absence of something that we've never been absent from, or has never been absent in our lives.
Maybe I think that ourselves are pegged in some way, or the formation of the self is pegged in some way to the paradigm that you're raised in.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
I guess we can imagine it, but the idea of like being linked in that way, I don't think we can. Sure, we can imagine, because we can watch a TV show like Deadwood or something like that, where there was nothing like that. But it's still all produced by people who were, I don't know about David Milch necessarily. I don't know when he was born, but like,
no, dude, I love this point you're making. Please continue. Yes.
But we were all formed. We can pretend like we can imagine it, but I don't think we can create something that captures it, because you're always making something out of, if you're making something authentic. I really don't like the term authentic necessarily, but like,
yeah, me neither,
if you're making
honestly.
something that flows out of you,
yeah,
as opposed to something commercial, I think that's the dichotomy that I'm looking at: authentic versus commercial. Whereas you're making something because, like, look, there are things that I write because I want to write them, and there are things, you get a list of stuff, you meet with a executive at a network, and they say, here's what we're buying, and then you go, can I make something that I would want to write for? I mean, unless you're a psychopath and you're just like, yes, I'll write this and I'll sell it to you. But
right.
If you have some kind of soul, you think about like, well, what could if they bought this, could I write this for like a couple seasons? And then you go, okay, I have an idea. But like, that's a commercial, right? That's a thing. That's something you like specifically make in order to sell. And I'm sure like there are similar things for you guys where you're like, well, this music comes out of us, but also like we were hired to write the background music for a commercial, so we're just going to write whatever they want us to do, right? But that's
I don't think people think that way anymore. Even though the way you were saying, like, if it was a commercial context of like, could I like keep writing this? Like, they will just go for it. They will take the first bite of any commercial offerings from the get go.
Yeah,
like with
maybe.
like, I feel like it's like a. I do think the poser thing like plays into that, where it's like that, like the commercial like thing of kind of like questioning like could I live with myself if I do this? Like, will other people judge me if I do this? Like that like element of like that gatekeeping on that is like,
yeah, you're right.
It's so absent to the point that like you wouldn't even be like, is this like a commercial thing that I could sustain? You'll just dive into like doing the first thing that like is purchased, right? And then you might be fucked. So you'll be like on the next thing, you'll be like, I can't keep doing this, but I said yes to it because I like just jumped on whatever the first like commercial offerings were.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that gatekeeping, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And which is another, like, again, going through this paradigmatic shift into content where that it doesn't even think, people who are raised in that way don't even think this way, where there's like a difference between those two things. But then, but for us, in the idea of making something authentic, aka something that just flows out of you as a person, right? you can't help but do that. And so even if we could, to go back to Peter's point, even if we could imagine a world without satellites, that's not linked in the way that was linked in the, I don't know, 60s, 70s, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we can produce art that captures that feeling necessarily.
I really want to agree with you there, because like you mentioned Deadwood, and like it is, the key word is imagine. It's like, this is a fantasy. Like the most frustrating thing for me, and I see it all the time, like watching period pieces or whatever, or it could be like Game of Thrones or something, and like when the writing becomes bad, they start like speaking like some random guy on the street now. He'd be like, man, fuck you. It's like, no, they don't think this way. It's like that's not a good look, chief, or something like, I don't know, like something like that. Like it irritates me to no end. But I guess maybe it irritates me because it points to the fact that maybe it's hopeless to try and capture something authentic. But to me, it shows that they didn't even try, and that's very funny.
Well, no, but it is authentic. It's authentic to us. We are. If you are making a thing,
we're seeing ourselves, but we decided to dress ourselves like it's ancient Rome or something,
right?
And use our current slang. But
it's like it's like very Disneyland core, where it's like you have to be like signed up for it to be pleasurable, and if it's like if you're trying to be like, no, this is the real thing, and you're like, no.
But yeah, to that point, like it ties a lot to like our music and our relationship with like references and stuff. I'm going to make a quick analogy, and then I want to talk about our music. And the analogy is this: any movie that you might go to the theater and watch today, or I guess stream at home, it like 99% of them exist in a world where people aren't watching movies all the time. You know, like, and our world is a world where people are watching stuff all the time. And so there's inherently this, like, this doesn't feel real. Where like, this is a fantasy world where people have time to go on adventures and stuff like that without watching somebody else go on adventures.
Sure. It's kind of like how it took them like forever to start putting cell phones in movies. Like there was like a long period of time there for that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen Eddington, but I think people are excited about Eddington because it's like, oh, this feels real. Like I saw the trailer and I was like, that feels like the world, at least I recognize. Like it's a story that hits close to home in a way that like might endanger me to think about my own life, you know?
Right. Because COVID doesn't exist in most fiction at this point. And Eddington is one of the few. I think American Dad has referenced COVID, and Party Down has referenced COVID, and Eddington. That's three pieces of fiction that I've seen. So yes, but go on.
Yeah, and so these are people who share our own psychological afflictions, you know, and so they're instantly more valuable icons for us to follow through a story. And so I've seen people try and understand our music and over the years, over the decades. And this awareness that I'm talking about is something I think, have always had in our stuff. It's almost in like a Weird Al type way. I think Scott Pilgrim works in the same way, like that story world. Scott Pilgrim is a world that's like full of references, but they're not just for the references' sake.
Right.
It's to paint a real picture. And for us, like even the use of 8-bit sounds is not like, cool, it's 8-bit. It's like, these are literally the sounds that we grew up with, and we're trying to put them in a context that's different so we can understand ourselves and each other better. And so on this latest album, anyway, if you listen to it like track by track, some people might say, as some have, like, this one sounds like Weezer. This is a sort of a Nirvana song. This one sounds an awful lot like The Cure. This one sounds like Blink-182. It's like, yeah. Have you thought about why that's the case? Have you thought about like how it makes you feel that this one sounds like this, and then you hear something like this? Have you thought about like, and maybe you haven't, which is fine. But for us, that's sort of where we're coming from, is like putting these references next to each other, hopefully, I think, creates something new. So hopefully creates a path that has been invisible for a minute. Like, it's exciting for us to have a song that sounds like a cut from Disintegration from The Cure happen near a song that sounds like a hardcore track by Leftover Crack or something like that. And dealing with grief in these ways is not just simply something that we think is like would be fun to do pastiche wise. It's something that is fun to do because it's authentically who we are, authentically how we relate to these feelings, authentically like how we see the world.
And I think it portrays our networked experience. Like it's like doing like
Yes.
it maps out like the connections that are our world. Like, and like it takes, it's like they're not disconnected. Like the whole point is to link them to each other, not to make the individual references.
Right.
Right. That's like
Exactly.
Right.
Well said.
Right. Well, it's the difference between, as a parenthetical, the world we live in is a world where the postmodern has metastasized. And partly,
Well said.
Partly that is because I think there's political reasons where it happened to be a boon to a right-wing point of view to create a world in which truth was very difficult to discern. I think it's also like there's an artistic, kind of natural artistic move towards the postmodern. And then there's like a good reason why you would do that, why you would get rid of a main central narrative that backed a white Christian point of view, and why you would want that to go away in favor of having many different ways of looking at things, especially ones that promote ways of looking at things that are queer, ways of looking at things that are from a black or brown point of view, right? So there's good and bad reasons, but it's all around us. And in that context, you can either make something that is just content, that is empty postmodernism, that is just references, or you can make something like you guys are saying, which is what I connect to in your music, is that there is a meaningful reason to do this. It isn't just, we're using 8-bit things. Like what I get from you when I first started listening to you a long time ago was that this isn't just some kind of nostalgic kind of thing. Oh, it's like our childhoods. This is something that is an enjoyable sound, and therefore we're going to use it as a way to make music that means something. That's what I got from you.
Yeah, that's spot on. I think that's like where we're coming from.
Yeah. That's what resonated with me. And I think that's what the question is for everyone in 2025 and beyond is, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to make empty postmodern stuff because that just references things? Or are you going to make something like use that are you going to just reboot the world? Or are you going to use it as a fundament to make something meaningful? And I don't like the choices people are making necessarily, but
well, yeah, that word meaningful, like we're singing on this record for the first time, and I think that was like to me it's as much of a reference than anything else. Like it feels like the decision to include 8-bit sounds, including our own voice, like we're doing it for a specific reason on this album. And yeah, one of the reasons is it's an easy way to imbue meaning to things. Words instantly make they conjure images in people's heads. They conjure associations of his voice sounds like this or his voice sounds like that. Somebody said that they listened to the album and they pictured, I've never seen this show, the character Mordecai from Regular Show. They're like, oh, that's the guy who's singing on this. This is like,
interesting.
I've never heard, this is like a younger person who heard our album is like, that's who I picture singing all of these songs. It's so strange. I love it though.
Are you looking up Mordecai, Ari?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, I
know, yeah.
I had never seen it before, but yeah. But no, things have happened in our lives.
Which one it was, but
yeah,
it's like the two fuckers from that.
Yeah, from Regular Show.
Yeah,
but yeah, like obviously, so we wrote this album in 2024. Wow, what happened then? There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, and within our own lives, within our lives with each other, within our lives in the country, in the world, it just felt like the wrong time to say like, fuck it, let's party. It felt like the wrong time to say like, check this thing out, it's fucking sick. It felt like the wrong time to like hype ourselves up. Like, look at us, we're fucking awesome, we're the shit. It felt like instead the right time to say like, We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna go?
Uh-huh. Well, let me ask this. I've kept you. I've been enjoying this conversation. I lost track of the time, but let me just ask one last question, because this is something that always interests me with my guests. What insulated you from turning into content creators? I don't mean that I don't mean it that specifically, but I'm like, what insulated you where you could have, again, Ari, growing up in Hollywood, you know, you saw another path open to you, you know. I'm curious. I assume Peter, growing up in Chappaqua, you at least had access to New York. I'm sure it's not that far away from New York, right?
Oh yeah, I would take the train every chance that I got. Yeah.
So you both saw, like, you know, what was possible in front of you. And I'm curious what stopped you from going a different route. What was it about yourselves or about your families?
For me, it was just never that attractive. Anytime I tried to see what was going on there, the people weren't friendly. The attitude wasn't fun. The excitement wasn't there. And I knew the excitement could exist because my dad, his best friend growing up was this guy, Andy Bamberger, who was the producer of all the Nickelodeon shows that I grew up loving, like Global Guts and Clarissa Explains It All, Nick Arcade. And he was like the nicest guy in the world. And I was like, huh, if it doesn't feel like that, something's wrong. And, you know, if someone's trying to like fuck me over, if someone's trying to do this or that. Also, similarly, my mom's side, my uncle is an actor, Bud Cort. He's like a dude from the 60s and 70s. And he had all these,
Yeah, I know who Bud Cort is.
sweet. Well, he had all these cautionary tales because he got fucked.
Huh.
Like multiple times over his career. And, you know, hearing all of these stories about, like, you know, things not working out the way that they ought to, and then the few times where it did, it just gave me even more confidence to say, like, yeah, the thing I'm doing at 11 years old with my punk friends at summer camp is worthwhile because we're having fun and people and my friends enjoy it. And that's good enough for me. And it doesn't matter if, to be honest, even like, even if my parents didn't like it, it didn't matter to me. It was about, I was doing something that meant something to me, and it being understood, or even, being misunderstood was not a harmful thing. Being misunderstood was actually an asset. It was something that sort of made me feel like I might be on the right track to actually getting to the bottom of, getting to some truth of something.
Wow. Yeah.
And so if there were two sort of twin things, if I felt like I was being overly understood, that was a warning sign. And if I felt like I was getting a total cold shoulder, then it was time to just get out of there. And I think there are multiple opportunities that I could have pursued if I had less of a like intensity on that. But as to like what the cause was, it's difficult to say because it's been with me for a long time. I don't know. It's honestly, I would have to bring it to the mysterious land of the religious again. That's how I would put it personally.
What about you, Ari?
Yeah, it's hard. It's like I can like kind of see it in my head, but it's hard to put into words. Like what insulated me from doing that. I feel like for me, it has a big part. Like I think the platform, what the expression is like sticking onto. I feel like you have to like and care a lot about, right? So I feel like, I guess for me, it's always like for me to like be that driven to make content, I would really have to love Tumblr as a platform. I really have to love Instagram as a platform. It's like a thing that really means a lot to me. And like to me, they've never had, like, there's like these like ephemeral moments. Like it's like a cool neighborhood. It's like, there's gonna be a new cool neighborhood the next day, and that's fine. Like you don't have to avoid it for that reason, but like it's a moving target. And then I think what the platform for art is music, and that's like I have always loved music. I have the deepest respect for it. It's I think music is cooler than Instagram. I think music is cooler than Tumblr. Like I think that's the insulator at the end of the day. I think it's just like the beauty and the importance of like what the platform is that you're sticking your expression onto. I think that's what differentiates content from art. Like that's like when you can like draw those lines differently. Is like content is produced for the platform, art is produced for like the medium on that level. But like it's like I don't know. I think it comes down to that where it's like kind of like I like putting music on YouTube, but like I like making the music. The YouTube
Right.
is just later,
Right. We grew up
in a different arena to play with. But
we grew up in the era where the medium was the message, and then it
Yes.
turned to the platform was the message, which is ephemeral, it turns out, and can go away if, I mean, Congress banned TikTok. Obviously, no one gives a shit. But like that platform could go away, and then all the people who made Vine. I remember just making stupid videos for Vine. That went away.
Dude, Vine, that era, that was so ephemeral, but it was fun too.
yeah, it was the shit. It was great.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't stop making videos because I love Vine so much, or I wouldn't stop making art because it's like Vine was really it.
Right.
If you told me I couldn't do music anymore, then I'd be in a fucking problem. But like, not
Right.
losing Vine. I will not, like, my life will not end because Vine is gone. My life would be much more at risk if music was gone.
But I think we grew up in an era where art seemed eternal, even if it's not, obviously, right? Again, no one knows who Einstein is anymore, but it is still, it feels a little more permanent than now, where it feels just very like sand through your fingers.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's like, you could go buy a physical CD versus you interact with a billion Spotify things. I don't know. It's very boomer take, but like that, there's something tangible there. That's
yeah. And I'll say
real.
this, maybe it's, I'm not going to say it's better. I'm just going to say it's different. That way it's not a boomer take.
Yeah. But yeah, the boomerness, like there is an aspect of truth there. And
we're not scared of boomer.
yeah, we were involved in some early experiments where we were like, okay, yeah, we agree that the tangibility of a vinyl record is cooler than just putting an MP3 online. So let's make the experience of using our computers to interact with music more meaningful. And so we partnered up with Jake Lodwick, who founded Vimeo and College Humor, to put out, he started a company called Normative Music Company. And in 2009, he released records by Francis and the Lights and Reggie Watts and us, where each three of us, we tried to use the internet in a way that would like put a frame around this piece of music. For us, it was an EP called Down Metropolis, an album called Down Metropolis, where we essentially made a Flash website that was like essentially Flash videos for each song on this 7-track thing. And that to us, that was where we imagined music going. Do you remember the website Muxtape? Have you ever heard of Muxtape?
I've heard of it.
It was made in the same room that Normative was invented. And it was a playlist sharing website. It had a beautiful interface, and people would embed Muxtapes onto Tumblr and stuff. So we imagined the world moving in an exciting place for using computers to present music.
Yeah.
And it seemed like what has actually occurred instead is through commerce, through industry, and even military stuff, these surveillance applications disguised as music delivery services have sort of won the day, it appears, for now. And yeah, it feels like sand through your fingers because they're not, they're thinking about it like put the CD on the internet and then share it with people. No one's thinking about how do I present this music in a way that's going to like interact, like make people feel like it's the best way that they can experience this thing. Like, unless it's like on YouTube, on this, on that, on this or the other thing. For us, the medium was HTTP. We made downmetropolis.com. You could go there and experience this thing the way that we wanted to. and you could even embed that somewhere else. It was like our own mini portable service, our own mini portable experience.
Which felt like the natural like post. Like I felt like that felt like the natural evolution from like the Napster LimeWire world.
Yeah, because this was around the time Jake was reading David Byrne's book about music. He was in Rainbows by Radiohead had just come out, the like Name Your Own Price. And even that has turned into like Bandcamp, which is cool. We love Bandcamp. But like everybody's got the same Bandcamp website. Change your layout, change your this, change your that. Maybe that just comes with the course. When you make something that works, everybody copies it. But I don't know. At a certain point, Ari and I perhaps feel like we've stopped taking that battle, that approach a little bit, because it takes a lot of work to do it. And we even made a game. We released an album through a game, which nobody understands to this day, called Capsule Silence 24. We staged a Twitter rant and like deleted our Instagram and our Twitter and leaked fake news posts to big game things. And the story was Anamanaguchi quits $30 million video game project and leaks it on their Twitter or whatever. And that album, we like did not want to post that to Spotify. We're like, it's not going on Spotify. And then eventually we caved and we put it on Spotify. And guess what? It gets like $1. Who gives a shit? But the enormous amount of work that went into like making this game that I know hit people. It just like, I don't see people doing that. And I don't even see myself doing that. I think like our version of doing that now, if anything, is the experience of like trying to tour on this album as a regular rock band. Well, that feels like a novel enough experience to us.
It changed. Yeah. Now it's just like, now the big thing, look, it used to be a Geary Wrath of God. To make a piece of art, I'm going to haul an actual ship across a mountain. And now the hauling a ship across the mountain is, can I make a fucking living doing this?
Yes.
It's the making art that is a giant, that changes actual things in the real world has been reduced to just like subsistence in a certain way. And I don't mean that totally, but like,
well I think it is that, but there's also an aspect of, we're less interested in making portable websites than we are in like going to cities and saying like, hey, this is sick. You don't know what this is like. We want to show you what it's like to sweat in a room full of people with loud guitars. Like, this is sick. You're going to have fun. You may have never experienced anything like this in your lives as like a 20-year-old. Maybe you've been to a rave, but you've certainly never been to anything like this, because maybe that's our version of that now.
Yeah, maybe.
Pete, yeah, who knows?
Ari, what an absolute joy to talk to you both. Thank you for being on the show.
Of course, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was a joy. I hope we can meet up when we're in LA or something like that.
I'd love that. Let me know.
Absolutely, dude.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, oh, 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 bye.